and gentlemen, welcome to the future. I'm Zach Gardner, the Chief Architect at Keyhole Software, and about 3 to 4 months ago, I set off on a little bit of a journey. I wanted to go and find people that were actually using generative AI to power their business, to make recommendations about where the industry should be going, to give insights into what we can do as software practitioners to make everyone's lives better. And the good news, I found a lot of these people. The first person that I'm going to be interviewing as part of this series is Doug Hohulin. He's a futurist, generative AI specialist. He was at Motorola for 33 years, if I remember right. The president, yeah, and Nokia. The president of the VR/AR Association KC committee. He's been KU School of Nursing Advisor Board. Doug is the kind of person that when I set out in this series to find people that would give me, great insights, he's exactly the kind of person that I had in mind. So Doug, thank you very much for agreeing to be on this series.
Well, it's a pleasure.
Very cool. So there's a lot of things that we could talk about. I'm sure we could probably spend 7, 8, 9, 10 hours, but unfortunately our time is limited. So if you would talk me through the EU AI Act. A lot of people have heard about it. It's been in the news. But I'm just curious, what's your take on it? What are maybe the good parts about it that you see? What are the parts that, kind of worry you? And how does it really relate to us as, software practitioners? Just knowledge drop as best you can.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, happy to discuss that. I'm actually with an organization called AI and Partners, and they are focusing on making sure that companies follow the European Union Artificial Intelligence Act. It should be actually this week, the language should be finalized, and their process in Europe goes a little bit different than the US, but in the next few months, it should be going to enforced in law. And then the companies have, depending on the type of the use of the AI, fines start kicking in 6 months, and then 12 months, and then 2 years. And so why does it matter? Well, if you look at GDPR, right, especially like you may be here in Kansas City or in the United States, you say, why do I have to worry about it? Well, GDPR is a good example that, if you don't follow GDPR, the data privacy rules in Europe, and you do anything that's in Europe, you have the opportunity to pay lots of fines. So, let's move fast, break things, but you could pay lots of fines if you don't operate properly. So as there's this huge opportunity of AI in the future, it's expected to be about $13 trillion by 2030 around the world. So there's lots of opportunity to make money in AI, but you also have to follow the regulations. Or you can pay lots of fines. The winner of GDPR is 1.2 billion euros. Meta Facebook won that came in. In fact, there's a site that lists all the fines that companies had to pay for GDPR. So anyway, the EU AI Act, there's like 3 different levels of classifications. There's unacceptable risk, high risk, and low risk types of AI. And so once this passes, you have 6 months as a company not to do any of the unacceptable risk. And and if you do, then fines kick in, and they're very, they could be into the billions of euros, because it's dependent on your revenue. So there's 2 types of companies: one that develops AI content product and then sells that to clients, and then the other type of company is ones who buy product and then they use that for their business. And so both, just like any software, if you develop software, you break the rules, you can pay fines, or you buy software from a company and use it, and it breaks the rules and you pay fines. So in fact, I just wrote about 2 weeks ago on at the end of 2023, I said the title in LinkedIn article was, what do I wish I would have known in 2025 about AI at the end of 2023? And when I was with Motorola and Nokia, For 33 years. I worked on the Sprint account and worked on their supply agreements. So we went through 7 rounds of supply agreements, and every there were rounds going from 2G technology to 3G to 4G to 5G technology was my responsibility, and so we put these supply agreements. And when you do a supply agreement with a company, you always want to put the risk on the other side, right? Good lawyer will shove the risks over to the other side, and that's what the negotiations are all about. So I was thinking is, okay, when you buy content from your customer, or you're selling content to your customer, how do you think about risk? And especially in light of the EU AI Act, and here in the United States, we already have laws in place like the Fair Trade FTC, and other areas where you have to follow law. So while there's not explicit on how AI works, if you don't follow the laws, you can pay fines. In fact, you can eventually go to jail if depending on the situation. So the question is how do you follow the regulations of the company? And with EU AI Act being the first it, laws that will go into effect around specifically around AI, companies need to understand how to use this properly, or you pay lots of fines.
Kind of what I've seen from the Biden administration, the executive order that they put out. Oh, when was that? It was October,
I
November,
believe so.
sometime
Yeah.
around there.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really liked about it was it talked about, like there is reward, but there is risk as well. The reward is that generative AI allows people to do things, and AI in general, that would just be way too cumbersome for one individual to do. Being able to synthesize data from multiple different sources, be able to aggregate it together, and to be able to give some sort of like meaningful output and not take, 5, 6, 7 years, to where there are certainly a lot of industries that I see generative AI disrupting, law being one of them. One of the things that paralegals would do is they would do, just enormous amounts of research. They would have to be able to synthesize data, and like that's a pretty compelling use case for what these tools are able to do. So I'm curious, kind of piggybacking off of that, what workflows do you see AI either complementing, being able to take away tedious work, or not even complementing, just disrupting in general, and kind of making us all go back to square one?
Yeah, well, when I talk about automation, I say, well, if a job is dirty, dangerous, difficult, or dull, give it to the AI, right? Give it to the robots, and have the jobs that are more creative, more interesting to the humans. So that's what, my goal is to come up with technology that solves problems. And, I'm working with another company called Next Labs, and we're looking at workflows of companies to say, okay, what is your workflows? What are your processes? Are there ways to automate these processes? Like for your employees, what things do they not like to do? Like think of, a listener here is, what kind of jobs don't you like to do? What things don't you like to do within your job? And how can you automate those difficult tasks or dull tasks, or maybe dangerous tasks, right? Or dirty tasks, and give it to the automation, and so that you can do the things that you love. You're probably in a job, you get paid for it, but most of us hopefully have jobs that there's things that we really love about our jobs. And so, how do we automate the things that we're not as happy about doing? And so, there's different companies looking at all these different tasks, looking at what parts of the task could be automated, using AI as the AIs keep getting more sophisticated. You mentioned and then how to use those AI properly. A good example, you talk about law. So the American Bar Association has a task force on using AI properly. And in fact, Chief Justice Roberts, his state of the court document that he puts out every year. This last one is a 13-page document all about AI and the use of AI in the court. And there's now been cases where people are using AI not appropriately. And AI is a great tool if used properly. It's a horrible tool if used wrong, and garbage in, garbage out. But creativity out as well, and creativity out. So the question is are you using the tool properly? And in some cases, lawyers are not using those tools properly, and they're getting fined and cited. In fact, the Bar Association says that if you put these tools in to ChatGPT, you're breaking your lawyer client privilege, and you can get sanctioned for that. So you need to understand, and this goes back to the EU AI Act or the regulations, is understanding what is appropriate to do with AI tools, so that you follow the regulations laws properly. This is just education. And that's what actually this company I'm working with, Nooks Collabs, is we try to educate companies about how to use these tools properly.
Hmm. Yeah, very cool. I do recall actually talking to someone about that recently. It was like an eviction lawyer, I believe in Florida, submitted a brief to the court, and then the judge looked at some of the cases they were referencing, and they were like, "These cases don't exist." So they were like, "How did you come up with
Exactly.
these?" It's like, "Well, I was really busy. I'm a eviction lawyer in Florida, so I might have rinsed it through Chat GPT, and I might not have cross-referenced it." And he got fined a few $1,000s, if I remember
Right.
right. So, which
Right, and more so is your
relative.
reputation, right?
Oh
That you're
yeah.
saying that you're killing your reputation. Is both are equally bad. And I think what you're going to find is eventually, if lawyers use these tools improperly, they could probably lose their law licenses. I think you'll be interesting to see where this comes in. But like if you break attorney-client privilege, I believe you can lose your law licenses. So, though, actually, one thing I put into ChatGPT is I said, give me a list of things that you can be civilly liable for by using these tools, and it gave me up 9 lists. The one it didn't give me is using practicing law without a license. I thought that was humorous because that's kind of what I was trying to do. And then I said, give me a list of what things I can do and go to jail with if I use Chat GPT inappropriately, and it gave me that list as well. So it's like it's a good tool. Actually, I worked 4 years on automated and connected vehicles when I was with Nokia, working with the 5D Automobile Association. How do you roll out connected and automated vehicle technology? And Tesla was talking about Elon Musk in the late 2010s that this was becoming out, and even now. This technology keeps getting better and better, but it's like, how do you use automated technology more properly so that it creates a safer road system? But there's videos of people playing the ukulele when they're driving, or being in the back seat when they're driving a Tesla, and they're using the technology inappropriately, and the likelihood of dying it goes up dramatically because you're not using those technology properly. So that if one key message here is understand the limitations of any tool and use it responsibly.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm reminded of the Boston Consulting Group survey that came out where they showed, an improvement in terms of, I think it was like quality and speed. Have you read
That's
that
correct.
survey? Is that familiar to you?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, so the Boston Consulting Group, which is these high power consultants, they broke them up into 3 groups, and one group just used their normal processes. They had, I think, like 30 different tasks to do in a day, and they said, okay, no tools, use Chat GPT, but don't have any training. And then the third group, they got some limited training on Chat GPT. And what they found is that the quality went up if the people who use those tools went up by 40%, and the speed went up by 25%. Now, the one comment there, and this is the important thing, in fact, I was on a call yesterday, is what they found is the best employees tended not to get that much better with these tools, but the average employee got a lot better. So there's this concept of regression to the mean, whereas everyone kind of gets mediocre to the center. But I'm calling it the regression to the expert, where that it boosts the average person to the level of your best performers. So as a company, what if all your employees were like your best employee? And so how do you have the regression to the expert, to the best, the expert to the best, not the expert to the regression to the mean. And that's where AI can help boost productivity, boost creativity, and do some amazing things. And so I'm really excited at what these next 5 years will be. Like, I've worked in the cellular industry and the internet technology for the last 33 years. And I think that AI, coupled with the all the tools of the internet, will be more powerful, will change our society more in the next 5 years than all of the last 25 years. So it's going to be incredible. And I actually like to wake surf. And this power of the wave, you can use the power of the wave to ride on top of the wave and just have a great experience. Or you can get buried by the wave. You can get crashed and buried by the wave. So if you know how to ride the wave, you can do amazing things. If you don't know how to ride the wave, you crash and burn and drown. So the question is, do you understand these tools well enough that you can ride the wave of innovation?
Mhm. Very much. And I'm curious if you could spend a few minutes talking about, what excites you maybe the most about generative AI as it relates to spatial computing. It's honestly an area that I will freely admit I do not know enough as I should. So I always like to use these opportunities as a way to, just kind of talk to people that do, figure out what it is that, I need to be thinking about.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm on the VR, the Virtual Reality, Augment Reality Association. I'm the chapter president here in Kansas City, and I'm also on the Generative AI co-committee chair. And so we're looking at, okay, how do we roll out this technology? This, now, and actually, I like spatial computing, spatial web. This is the 3D web, where we go from 1D, DOS, the line, single lines, printing going out to the space, to the 2D, and now we're in the 3D world. In fact, one reason I left Nokia is opportunity to work with healthcare companies and educational companies I'm on the KU School of Nursing Advisory Board, work with them on virtual reality training. The problem with the technology, 2 years ago, and even limited somewhat today, is the weight of the devices. So like when I was with Motorola, when I started, a cell phone weighed 3 pounds, cost $3,000, had a 30-minute battery life, cost $3 a minute to make a phone call. So, it's like, okay, and there were 7 million people around the planet using these cell phone technology. Now we have 5 billion people having a smartphone in their pocket and, you spending 5 hours a day, or 3 to 5 hours a day using this technology. So every 4 minutes, people touch their cell phone and their smartphone. So you have the power of a supercomputer in your pocket. The thing is, you have to reach down and look down to look at that. So, I see where this technology is going in the next 5 years. In fact, 4 years ago, I was working with the Virtual World Society, or actually the Students in VR organization. And I wrote a blog saying, when will there be 1 billion people using this VR technology and the metaverse or spatial web, and using it at least an hour a day, right? Smartphones, if people use that 3 hours a day, the question is, when will you use an hour a day? And I said 2027, plus or minus 2 years. I still think that's correct. I do think it was probably closer to 2028, 2029. With the smartphones, in 2007, Apple came out with their smartphone. They sold 3 million smartphones that year. In 2011, the world had 1 billion smartphone users. And in 2022, we have 5 billion smartphone users. So, people have, the majority of people now are using smartphones to do incredible things. So the question is, when are you going to do that in with this spatial web? Apple, what we are, January 23rd, they just sold out their first round of, there's Apple Pros and devices, but there's only 80,000 of them. So the question is, when will we get to 1 billion people using this technology? Why will they be using it? Will it have a more immersive experience? What I'm excited for is education, that you use your smart glasses when you need to do something, that the AI will be coupled with, this spatial web to give you, say, hey, I need to do this task. And you put your glasses on, your smart glasses on, and it will give you step-by-step instructions. It will tell you the most optimal way to do something. So, like right now, many people, if they need to do something, they Google, go to YouTube and say, okay, how do I do this? And they look through the steps, and then they start doing it, and it's like, okay, then they go back to, you might have to go back and forth a number of times to make sure you're doing something right. Well, what happens when you have your smart glasses, that you can follow the steps through your smart glasses and optimize doing any process possible. So I see the coupling of, the spatial web along with AI coming together to do amazing things. We still need some technology to get better, just like the smartphone. In fact, Motorola had a smartphone before Apple, and Nokia did too. But Apple optimized it, and even in 2007, when the Apple smartphone, the iPhone came out, it only had limited functionality, but then getting better and better, and now it's just incredible functionality. And that's where we're going to see that with immersive technology. I think we need to get down. Right now, the one thing I have complained about Apple is it weighs a pound. I mean, that's the same problem with the Quest 2 and the Quest 3. They weigh around a pound. So I think you need to get down to like a tenth of a pound. Your glasses weigh about 50 to 70 grams. And there are some smart glasses right now out there that weigh about 100 grams. And if you put those on, they're much more easy to wear. There's going to be two directions, right? All the functionality of like a Vision Pro, and then heavy and expensive. And then you have your smart glasses that have less functionality, but keep getting more and more functionality. And hopefully in the next 3 to 5 years, you'll have all this power and functionality where just like you just always have your smartphone with you at all times, you're going to have your smart glasses with you at all times doing amazing things.
Well, maybe your prediction might come correct, and in about 3 years, maybe we'll be doing a podcast about that.
Yeah,
You
I'm
never
looking
know what
forward
the
to that.
future holds.
Yeah, actually, like the VR/AR Association in Kansas City, we're going to have an event. We're still working on the final venue, but in February 20th, we've had already like 4 or 5 events already. One at Children's Mercy, where we have different companies come in to highlight some of the demos. We're hoping at this event in February 20th that we would have a Vision Pro there, so people can
Awesome.
demo. Children's Mercy actually just announced that they had I think it's either a $2 or $4 million grant to get VR training to some of their employees. And so you're seeing pockets of this training, people using VR. And again, at the end of the day, is can you optimize what you're doing with this technology? So, in fact, I'm not a big fan of um, IKEA, but when you pull out all the pieces and you have to put this together, the question is what happens instead of having to look at all your instruction and put part
Mm.
85 to 89, or what you do is you just put on your glasses and you just throw out all your stuff, and you look around and it says, okay, pick this piece up, pick this piece up. It has arrows, and you say put this together. So basically, you're following the instructions of the AI, right? You're the AI's hands, and putting everything together. And can you put something together faster than the best IKEA assembler, right? In fact, there's people who are really into jigsaw puzzles. So maybe you have a competition where you have these smart glasses, and you have someone who's an expert, the best expert in jigsaw puzzlers, right? That they can put these together best, and someone who, like myself, who's not into that. And can I compete against the best, put the jigsaw puzzle together? Just by having my smart glasses, they do a scan of all the pieces, and then they keep saying, "Okay, put these pieces together," and you become the hands of the AI, right?
That'd be nuts. Well, I know at least for IKEA, I'm sure that would save me many hours of grief because I'm a
Yeah,
frequent customer and a frequent. I reverse it all the time. I get halfway through and I realize I've done it like backwards.
right.
Well, Doug, this was fun. We should do this again. If people want to learn more about your work, some of the organizations that you're involved in, where should they go?
Yeah, I work, do a lot on LinkedIn, write a lot of articles. In fact, I just wrote an article on using Copilot for Microsoft Word 365. And, I did that this weekend. Actually, trying to eat my own dog food, right? So I signed up for these tools. The great thing about Microsoft, before you had to have 300 people in your company. Now you can sign up for $20 and get the pro version. And so I wrote my first LinkedIn article using that. It took me about 45 minutes to write it. And now I'm up to 2,600 people that have looked at it. So it's my most actually popular article, I think, to date. And it's amazing what this technology can allow you to do. Though the thing is now with this technology, we're getting more and more people doing creative things, right? And so are we going to just be overwhelmed with information? And so how do you pop up to say, okay, how do I be the most creative, right? Now you got to think of a concept that says, okay, or you get either be first or think of a concept that's the most interesting. So anyway, I'm on LinkedIn, so reach out to me on LinkedIn. Happy to connect with everyone. I'm also very involved with the with Chris Kovac's KCAI Club. They're going to have actually an event. I think it's February 13th. Yes, AI in healthcare at KU Med. They're going to have another one on responsible AI coming up in March. So if you're all at all interested in AI, I would encourage you to be there. Like I said, we're going to have our event on February 20th with KC Digital Drive. That's another organization I'm involved in, and that's I would encourage the people in this audience to get involved in. A lot of Zoom meetings, a lot of activity on Kansas City Digital Drive on how to be innovative, digital innovation on healthcare, equity, self-driving cars. They had an AV evaluation. So there's all kinds of different, if you're, whatever you're interested in technology, probably KC Digital Drive has something for that. So those are the areas to check out and get, you might find me at one of these locations.
Mhm. And I have a feeling that unless I have a schedule conflict, I'm going to be at that KU Med meetup. That sounds awesome. So,
Okay,
uh,
fantastic.
Doug, it's been real. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone that stayed tuned for the entire episode, and see you in the future.